Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This book was published in 1878, and this version was translated by Richard Pavier and Larissa Volonkonsky. Please forgive me, I probably butchered those names terribly. This book's about 800 pages long, and it is obviously very much a huge part of Russian literature, like that we know to this day. And it's known as Tolstoy's first like true novel. He also wrote War and Peace, which I have not as of yet read. And I think here's the thing: the only other piece of Russian literature that I read, well, of this kind of type, is some Dostoevsky. I read Crime and Punishment, and also I really enjoyed Solaris, which is quite different piece of Russian literature. Other than that, I really haven't read much. I think that this is very different from Dostoevsky, at least of Crime and Punishment, what I've read, in that this is very much the upper society of Russia, during the late 19th century, as opposed to, Crime and Punishment. You really, personally, I felt for the main character in that novel because he was very much an everyday man. To a degree, you saw him struggling with rent and so forth. Where a lot of these problems I felt very disconnected from. This almost to me felt much more like a Jane Austen novel, where there was a lot of emphasis on the social minutia and just seeing basically how upper society would interact with one another, what their real motives were, and how all of their lives were kind of entwined and affecting one another, and what was in society okay, what was not okay, and how somebody could become disgraced by their actions or lack thereof. So I will give you the general premise. I'm going to try not to give spoilers, but this book is quite old, so if I'm giving something away, please forgive me. I don't think you have to worry about many triggers for this book, though I don't think this is really for younger audiences because there's a huge emphasis on infidelity in the novel. It's a big starting point. There's no spice. Not that I think anyone expected that, but once again, there's infidelity, so I'm just giving the warnings now. Basically, Anna Karenina, she is a woman who strikes up an affair with Count Vronsky, who's this younger man who was courting this woman, Kitty, at the time. Kitty is just a very loving young woman who was approached to be married by this man, Levin. Please forgive me. All these names are Russian. I will probably butcher all of them. Anyway, so Levin is this older male. He's in his mid-30s and he's deciding, hey, I want to get married. I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. He was like part of different social movements, and now he just has an emphasis on his land and his farming, which he's taken over from his intellectual brother, and he also does the affairs for his sister, who's really only mentioned. She's not really a big proponent of the novel. So we have him as a main character as he's courting Kitty and gets his heart broken because she tells him no because she loves Vronsky, and Vronsky decides to go with Anna and basically disgraces them both. Well, he's fine because he's a man, so he's not really being disgraced. But he does turn down multiple job offers and basically debases himself because of this woman. So that's a big part of it. That's a huge chunk of the novel. I don't think I gave much away because a lot of that happens very early on. And then you kind of just see the repercussions of that event. In which, why did Katie do that? And it made her ill. You see how her family reacts to it. Her older sister, at the same time is struggling with her husband's infidelity, and he doesn't find her attractive anymore, and he doesn't view her of anything other than the mother of his children. So he tries to get his kicks elsewhere, in other words, though it is put not so bluntly in the book. So I believe those are the main big players. You have Vronsky and Anna, and you basically watch how a society turns on a group of people and how their actions affected multiple other people in their family, whether it be by blood or by marriage. And I think what's really beautiful about this book is the human elements of it, the way that the characters are thinking. For instance, Anna, she has a huge segment in which she talks about how she fears that Vronsky has fallen out of love with her, or even when she's talking about her husband, how she feels disgust with him that she never felt before, and that with the way she looked at him, made her feel vile, and how she was lying, but the outward facade of who she was just very smiling, very obliging, but the way she treated him and the way she thought of him was just so two-faced, but you wouldn't have known that unless you knew you were inside of her head. This is all written in third person, which I thought was really interesting because a lot of it is that introspection. Because you have Anne, the way she views love and the loss of love and how it can burn out of herself as she watches it burn out of other people. And so there's just a lot of that I felt was really raw and really real that I could personally relate to. And the prose itself of the book, congratulations to translator, congratulations to Leo Tolstoy, because I felt that it was really well done. I thought the actual wording was quite poetic. And I mean, it's meant to be poetic. It's a tragedy. And, also just thinking about Levin, who is a middle-aged man who, has been spurned by a woman, and how he's viewing life at that point, how he's very confused as to what he's supposed to do. Meanwhile, he's an older male, he should have this knowing, and the different things that he can do with a life, and the different powers that have been put upon him, and responsibilities, and how does he fare into the structure that is basically where he lives. Can he loves working the field with the mushleks, or the people that he's hired to do the works. Once again, probably butchering that name. And at the same time, they can't look at him as a master if he's doing work with them. So there's that give and take relationship there, and just the way that he views the peasants, so the people that works under him, while he might not really respect him, and he kind of looks upon them as children. There's a lot about the social structure in this book, which I really appreciate. I enjoyed the book. I did. The problem is, it made me a little sleepy. I'd be reading this book middle of the day, and it would be putting me to sleep, and I would be enjoying it. I would. Maybe it was too long. Maybe it just delved a little bit too deep into the psyche. Maybe, for some reason, this book kept putting me to sleep. I don't think it's bad. I really enjoyed it. But it was a little tedious, especially, there's a point in the novel in which a very important character dies, and I'm like, the book should be over. The book very much should be over. The ending is a bit anticlimactic. Not gonna lie, the ending, a little bit. But am I happy I read it? Yes, I'm happy I finally understand, Leo Tolstoy's literature. I think that it has a lot of really good exposition of the age. I'm going to recommend it. I think that if you like classics, I think you should read it. I think it's not the most fun read. I don't think it flew by for me. I definitely took longer to read it, but I still enjoyed reading it. That's my take. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my review, and have a good one.